Hey everyone, it's Lisa from the blog farmhouseonboone.com, and today I'm going to share with you a very interesting and 6+ year-old story, and that is my baby in the van birth story. So this is a video that I have wanted to share for a long time. I just kind of keep putting it off, forgetting about it because it's something that happened so long ago, but it was an interesting day and definitely a memorable story. This particular child, he's my third born. I'd already had 2 girls. I'd had them in the hospital. The first one I had completely conventionally. I let them do all of the things to me. So, add Pitocin when I was already in labor, break my water, episiotomy, forceps, all of that. By the way, I think you would already know this if you clicked on this video, but if you are a male or anyone who does not like TMI stories, obviously it's a birth story, so this is not going to be one for you. With my first, she was born a month after I turned 23, and so I was pretty naive about everything pertaining to the whole process. I had no clue, and so I just trusted that I would just go in and they'd have my best interests in mind, and that I didn't really need to do any research or dig into this whole birth process, be educated, prepared. Obviously, I was wrong. If you're a first-time mom, if you can learn anything from this, it is to be prepared. Visit my birth story I did for my 5th born, Micah, who was born a year and a half ago. I did a home birth with him, and you can hear way more about this. Anyways, I had the next daughter in the hospital, but without any interventions. And the reason for that is I still couldn't do a home birth or a birth center birth and have it be covered by insurance. At the time, that was really important to me. And so I just did a natural birth there in the hospital. By the time my 3rd child was born, there was a new birth center in town. It had just opened its doors literally 2 weeks before he was born, less than 2 weeks. And I was able to have them bill my insurance. It was all covered. It all worked out. And so I was going to have him at the birthing center. It was going to be my first midwife-led birth. So I did all of my usual preparation, the Bradley method book that I talk about in my home birth story. And I felt that I'd be plenty prepared to have him at the birthing center. We did not find out the gender. I thought that it would be really wonderful experience to go to the birthing center, have a peaceful birth in a large jacuzzi tub, pull out this baby and announce, it's a boy or it's a girl. At this point, we'd had 2 girls, and I just couldn't wait to make that announcement. I had the whole thing envisioned in my head. Well, that's not what happened. So fast forward through my very uneventful pregnancy. I had a great pregnancy with him, no complications. I was 41 weeks and 1 day pregnant, and we had just gone out to dinner with my husband's family, and everyone was giving me so much trouble about that I hadn't had the baby yet. Now, it is completely normal to go 41 weeks pregnant. It's normal to go up to 42 weeks. Nothing wrong with that. However, the people in my life did not necessarily think that. They just are used to you either have your baby on 40 weeks or you're induced. And so I was so annoyed coming home that day because I felt that people were almost disappointed that I hadn't had my baby yet, and I could do nothing about it. But would you believe that as we were pulling into the driveway after this dinner, I had a very strong first contraction. And I didn't really think a ton of it because, you can have those kind of start and stop labors. The funny thing is I've never had that. I still, to this day, I'm pregnant right now with baby number 6, have never had a contraction outside of real labor. But since I've heard of that happening, I still always get that in my head whenever I start having contractions, that maybe this isn't the real thing because people have labor that starts and stops, and they have prodromal labor that happens long before. Well, I don't have that happen, so I'm not really sure why I thought that, but I was like, okay, this is good. Maybe something's happening. I'm 41 weeks pregnant. At some point, something is going to happen. So I was looking forward to having more contractions. we got home, we had to make dinner for our kids, our other two daughters, and just going about our busy evening. I think every so often, I think maybe every 20 or 30 minutes, I would have another contraction. Around, I believe, 7 p.m., my husband went to a Bible study at our church, and he was like, "You're sort of having contractions. Are you sure I should go?" And I'm like, "You can definitely go. It's going to take forever. No need to worry about it." While he was gone, this is the TMI part, I guess, I got the wise idea that I was going to make it go a little bit faster. So I started doing some Googling and YouTube searching on the breast pump method. And if you're unfamiliar, basically the way that works is you take a breast pump, and when you pump, you get a contraction because of the hormones that are released from pumping. Did that, got a contraction, and the methods that I had read about online said to do it again in 5 minutes, basically make it as if natural labor is happening. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out that I do not necessarily recommend this. My midwife ended up recommending it again with my fourth child because it had worked so well with my third, and I was again over a week past. So I was at times doing this under the recommendation of my midwife, not this time. But there is some evidence that it produces strong contractions and it's not a good idea. So I'm not telling you to do it at all. Obviously, talk to your doctor, talk to your midwife. This was what the very past due pregnant woman thought was a good idea at the time. Now, with my fifth baby, I didn't do this. I don't plan on doing it with the sixth because I am in no hurry. They are so much easier inside than out. This kid can just cook till 42 weeks, seriously. But at the time, I was beyond impatient. I wanted to meet my baby. And so I followed that pattern, and I did pump, would wait 5 minutes, pump again, wait 5 minutes. I believe I did that maybe 5 times. And then I stopped because they started coming on their own, which is what is supposed to happen. Now, it probably would not work if you are 38 weeks pregnant, which if you are anything before 40 weeks, don't try this. Your baby is not right. Don't try it anyway. Obviously, talk to your doctor, but especially don't even think about trying it before then, because babies take 40 weeks, 41 weeks. I tried this because I was past 41 weeks pregnant. There's a difference. I sometimes see moms who are asking ways to self-induce at 38 weeks, and babies aren't ready to be born at 38 weeks. So anyways, the contractions started coming on their own. And so I put away the breast pump, and I just was laboring through using my Bradley method technique. I wasn't doing too bad. I was being able to relax through them all. My midwife never checks dilation ever, so I don't know if I went into this already dilated a little bit and maybe should have been a little bit more aware of the fact that things were progressing more quickly than I'd expected. I was just going with the pattern I expected, which was what they tell you is to call, I think it's called the 411 or the 511. Basically, it's 4 or 5 minutes apart, contractions lasting a minute long, and for 1 hour of that. That's when you're supposed to call your midwife. I hadn't reached the 411 yet, or the 511, whichever it is, but I thought around, I believe my husband came home at 10 p.m. I was still doing fine. I actually remember going down into the basement, and he was lighting the wood stove and stoking it up because it was March and it was cold, and laying there on the steps having a contraction. He's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just having a contraction. I gotta relax." And then we went to bed. And okay, this is funny. I know this takes a lot of tangents here. I had not even packed my hospital bag yet, or my birth center bag. It's the weirdest thing when you are pregnant, and you can tell me in the comments below if this has happened to you. It's like you actually don't believe the baby's gonna come out. It's like it's always a surprise. If you're 40 weeks, 41 weeks pregnant, it's going to come out. But for whatever reason in your head, it's really not. I don't know what's up with that. So I didn't even pack my bag. We go to bed. He goes to bed. I do not go to bed. And around 11, I decide it's time to call my midwife. I call her and I tell her what's going on, and I have a contraction. And I go, "I'm actually having a contraction right now." And she said, "Well, listening to your voice, you aren't sounding like you're struggling too much. Let's give it a little bit more time. So that was the fatal mistake here. Not really fatal because everything turned out fine. I thought, okay, this is fine. This is my first birth with her. My birth's later. She comes the second I call her. So this is her first experience with me and my precipitous labor. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm good. So I continue to relax through contractions. It was finally around 11:30, I want to say. I could have the details slightly off, that I decided to call my mom and tell her that she should come over to stay with the girls because I was no longer in denial about the fact that my baby was coming. I knew it was happening at this point. So she gets there around 12:30. When she gets there, she still tells the story today that everything had changed. So when I had talked to her on the phone, I sounded calm, cool, and collected. When she walked in our door, Luke was rushing around putting blankets in the van, taking out car seats because he somehow had the wherewithal to know that I was going to be birthing in the car, getting just everything ready so that we could bust out of there. So the second my mom pulls in, we're coming out. This is about 1 a.m. because she lives 30 minutes away from where we used to live. She comes in and she's like, oh gosh, this doesn't look good. Like, Lisa looks like she's having a baby. Somewhere in this time after we'd called her, I started shoving things in a bag, a girl onesie, a boy onesie, whatever we needed. I didn't bring a whole lot because when you go to the birthing center, you only stay for a few hours. You don't stay overnight. She gets in, we have our bag, we rush out, we get in the van. As we're going out, I feel the urge to push. And I'm like, this is not good. I already feel like I need to push. I remembered it with my daughter before because I had no epidural. And so I experienced this natural birth before. And so we, for whatever reason, get in the car. My midwife said that you should have just called me. I could have came to your house. I did not think of that because that was not the plan. The plan was birth center. That was all that was on my brain. We have to get to the birth center. Obviously, she could have came to my house. She actually lived at the time closer to where we lived than the birthing center. So it would have totally worked. She would have made it. We would have had a home birth. That's not what I thought. We get in the car, we are zooming down Boone Street, where we used to live. Luke is going as fast as he can. I'm in the front seat, just kind of like, ooh, I'm gonna push. And I'm going like down the little van hallway thing to the back and the front, like trying to figure out like how I could avoid pushing. We get on the highway and we start going through the next town over. Luke's going 80 miles an hour. And what do I see behind us but blue lights? We were getting pulled over because clearly he was acting like, he was driving like an ambulance here. And the cop came up. Luke jumped out of the car. I was like, great, now my husband's gonna get shot while I'm having a baby. He throws up his arms, thankfully, before the guy shoots him, because I'm thinking, you can't jump out of your vehicle at a cop, but we're not thinking properly right now. Luke's at this point believing me that I'm gonna be having a baby in the car. I told him I was, and I'm like, I'm gonna. While the cop and Luke are talking, my water breaks because that's always what happens on the first push. So the cop, can't just take Luke's word for it because he could be lying. So he looks in the back window at me, kind of sees my face and the situation with the water breaking, and he's like, oh yeah, okay, go ahead. He didn't escort us. Apparently that's not actually a thing, but everyone asked that question, so I thought I would answer that one. He did not escort us. We just kept driving extremely fast. Somewhere around, I'd say 5 minutes later, we're still a good 10 minutes drive from the birthing center. I decide there is absolutely no way I can hold it any longer. I'd already called my midwife. She told me just pant, try not to push. And if you've ever had a natural birth, that's not actually possible. That's not a thing. You have to push. I tried, but at a certain point, I gave up. So I decided to push. The first push was his head. The second was his body. And 10 minutes before we could have driven and made it to the birthing center, my son was born in the back of our van as we were driving 75, 80 miles an hour. At that point, I yelled up to my husband, you can slow down now. The baby is here and out of a car seat and crying. So we needed to go slow because not in a car seat, clearly that's not safe. And two, he was crying, so I knew he was fine. Now, had he been not breathing or something, I do not know what we would have done that would have been a whole different story. But we felt pretty relaxed at this point because the baby was here, the baby was fine. Now, at some point before that, Luke asked if he should pull over, and so that I could have the baby not while we were driving so fast. But I thought that if something had been wrong, I don't know what we would have done on the side of the road by ourselves. So I'm like, just keep going so that when the baby does get here, if the whatever wrong could happen and the baby's not breathing or something, at least we'll be closer to the birthing center, closer to a nearby hospital, something. Just keep going. Let's not be stuck in the middle of nowhere. Once the baby was born and crying, we knew we were good. It was dark. I reached between the legs and yelled up to Luke, "It's a boy. It's our first boy." Not exactly how I expected to announce the birth of our first baby boy, but it is a memorable experience. Obviously, just by the way this happened, it was an easy birth. If any child is born in the vehicle, it's an easy birth because there were obviously no complications, nothing stopping it. It just happened. And ultimately, I mean, his birth was, if I look back, probably the easiest of all of my births. I called the midwife, told her we'd had the baby. So when we arrived, she came out, she had blankets, she helped us in. He's of course still attached with the cord. And we go into the birthing center. I nurse him. She checks me. She helps deliver the placenta. She eventually cuts the cord. All of that usual baby stuff. Oh, he was 8 pounds and 7 ounces and I believe 21 inches long. I did not tear. It was just an easy peasy birth. And then we were discharged from there within 2 hours. And it was the weirdest thing driving home because we were sitting there in the front seat. Just 2 hours before, I was still in denial that I was even in labor. And now all of a sudden I'm sitting in the front seat, not pregnant, and there's a baby in the back seat. Really strange feeling because normally it's just so many hours at the hospital, then you're at the hospital for 2 days, and then you get discharged. But with us, it was like 2 hours before this. I just really didn't think I was in late. Well, I was being silly. Of course, I should have known. But here we are driving home with a baby out of nowhere. Lessons learned from that. One was home is the place to have babies. So the next 2 after that, I did not leave. I had at home. I called the midwife really early. Both of them came really quickly too. She was only at both births a couple hours. I shared Micah's story on here. I never did share Jude's because it was pre-blog and YouTube, but maybe eventually I'll come on and share that birth story as well. But it was a very uncomplicated home birth, and I'm hoping to do that again. Other lessons is just know your own body. 411 might work for most, but it does not work for everyone. So since having my third child in the van 6 years ago, I've met a ton of women who have had their babies in the vehicle. This is actually not as rare as you would think. It happens a lot, and it's probably because we think everybody's labor follows the same pattern and we expect that they should be in labor for a long time. Well, that's not what happened with me with the next couple babies. It's not what happened with him. And so now I know to trust more of how I'm feeling, which the Bradley book teaches you so much about, going more off of how you're feeling than it does going off the contractions and timing them. You kind of know. And I knew at 11 p.m. when I called her the first time what was going on, and I should have just pushed to go in instead of saying, okay, yeah, I guess I'm not ready yet, you know. There's my story of having a baby in the van. I hope that it was entertaining, if nothing else, maybe educational in some way. I don't know. I don't really recommend doing it. But if you are brand new to my channel, I do share some baby things here. I have a minimalist baby essentials video. I have some birth stories, as well as a popular baby wrap, baby wearing video. There will be more baby content because I'm gonna be having another baby in just 3 months, my 6th child. Please hit that subscribe button if you're brand new, and thank you so much for stopping by the farmhouse.